Today we're going to go over the pressure switches on our inverter-driven condensers. The unit that I have here is our 18 SEER heat pump. What we're going to go over is also going to apply to our 20 SEER air conditioner. So on our inverter-driven units, you will have a high and a low pressure switch on these units. The low pressure switch is going to open at 20 PSI, and then it's going to reclose at 35 PSI. And anytime that you get a low pressure switch fault code, it's going to be a number 19, which will be displayed on your interface board. And that is going to be the low pressure switch. Now, just like any other unit out there, you're going to be checking your charge level, possible a restriction, maybe your TXV on the inside is underfeeding your evaporator coil, or you might have an airflow related problem, potentially. So those are some things that are related to if you were to get a low pressure switch code on this unit. And again, it's going to be a code 19. Moving over to the high pressure switch side, the high pressure switch is going to open at 550 and then reclose at 460 PSI. So when you're dealing with the high pressure switch side, most of the time what sets off a high pressure switch is either going to be you're overcharged or you have a dirty condenser coil in cooling mode. Now, if you're in heat pump mode and you get a high pressure switch related problem, most of the time that's not enough airflow going across your indoor coil to get that heat off. Now, a side note that I want to let you guys know on is that if the high pressure switch were to open on our inverter driven line units, there is no fault code that will come up for the high pressure switch. The reason for that is that the high pressure switch wiring on the low voltage side is in series with the contactor. So what'll happen is that, for example, if your high pressure switch were to open, the contactor is going to open, it's going to shut the unit down. Now, what you may get as a result for some codes is you may see an active 14 code and an active 18 code. You may even see an active 02 code. Those codes kind of relate to power in the compressor. Mainly like if you were to pull the disconnect in the middle of a run cycle, you're for sure going to get your 18, which is your condenser fan motor fault, because that goes directly off your contactor. You're taking power away, so it's going to think the condenser fan motor is bad. And then also too, it's going to take away power from your inverter. And it's also then going to think that your inverter is bad. So when you're dealing with your high pressure switch code, it's not as straightforward as the low pressure switch when you'll actually get a code on your interface board. So one thing you really want to do is throw gauges on if you think we might have a high pressure switch situation going on. And that's a little bit about pressure switches on our inverter driven units. Thanks for watching. You can find more tips on edgetechhvac.com.